Paul is also here.
Hey, Paul, do you know Manish from Nazara, one of the very prominent and very successful Indian gaming companies in India?
I believe this is our first time meeting. Hi, how's it going?
Hi, how are you?
Can you guys hear me okay? My first time using this.
Yeah, so Manish, we're having this tech session just to try everything out, make sure we know how to use this before we have like the live conference tomorrow. So
great.
So far, so good.
Well, it's nice to meet you.
I like it so far.
Paul, I can hear you loud and clear. Nice to meet you too.
Hey.
And nice to meet you, Manish.
Hi, Avinash. How are you?
Good.
What's up?
One more person.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Karan. How are
hey,
you?
Manish,
We got Nuke Box in the house.
Yeah. Karan has grown up a lot since I've seen him in the past.
Yeah, Manish is the first CEO that I had worked with in the gaming industry while I was at Reliance.
Oh wow! How long ago was that?
2014.
Correct, 7 years.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Okay.
And he's looking like a grown-up man now from a young kid.
I hope in a good way.
A very good way. Very good way. Yeah. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Manish.
Yeah.
Yeah, Manish has like the awesome setup. I'm so jealous.
That's great.
Yeah, and your audio is coming in really nicely, even though you're a little bit far away. But
no, that's exactly what we did. As I told you, right? This setup had to be created for the IPO roadshows.
Right.
And this really becomes much easy setup now. You don't have to fiddle with your microphones, your sound of your computer, all of that distance. So yeah, it's very sorted. And part of a listed company, the pain is to meet investors, analysts regularly, and subject yourself to their questioning. So this helps.
Right. Nice. So any lessons learned, or can you talk a little bit about your experience going through the roadshow and going public is one of the big successes in India?
I think for us, my simple learning was that investors trust companies which deliver on what they have been promising, right?
Right.
From a Nazara's perspective, we have been engaging with those investors for last 2 years,
right?
And almost 18-24 months before the IPO, and what narrative we said, what we will deliver when they saw the delivery happening consistently.
Right.
So that really made my life much easier because you are a known devil. There is a comfort and trust you have built. There is a consistent delivery update cadence you have set up. So they know you are not an unknown entity. And I think that really helps when you are going for such large event.
Hey, man, how's it going?
That's great advice.
Hey, Joseph.
Great advice.
Good.
We got Meatbox in the house. We're actually getting great advice from Manish on, sort of lessons learned from the roadshow. And he was telling us how one of the key things for him was just making sure to deliver upon, the promises made and things like that. Something that at Leela, we've been talking about as well in terms of delivery, execution, making sure that we're a little bit more action oriented and, whatever it takes to get results, basically.
Great. Awesome.
Hi, Amit.
Hey, Manish.
Yeah,
how can we tell how many people are watching or not?
So it shows 2 people are watching. So
okay.
Top
left, I see the little eyeball thing. Okay. Yeah, looks like they are on from the YouTube. All right. So yeah,
and Avinash, where do you see that?
So on top left, where you see live 4:26, that timer going on. So you see the I button. So there are 2 people.
Yeah.
So basically,
I'm actually not seeing. I don't see that on my screen. It just says
really?
it just says live in the time.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree with Paul. That's the same thing I'm seeing. Maybe you have a privilege.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Nice.
So I used this before for one of the live streams. So maybe I'm one of the admins. That's why I can see it.
Yeah.
Correct. Maybe you have the tool to change the number of people watching in real time.
That's the plan. I'll make it 1 million. So we have one more person. Two more people.
You make it a 1 million as a tech error, and then you kind of take a snapshot of it and put it on Twitter.
What's up, guys? So hey, just for everybody in the audience watching, and it looks like a few more people are jumping into YouTube, but this is essentially, we're just here to talk before the conference tomorrow. We've got a number of folks from the industry just jumping in, and so Manish and Justin and anyone else jumping in. If you could check your tech to make sure the audio and video camera and stuff like that are working. But besides that, feel free to hang out. Otherwise, jump off. We just wanted to check the tech, and otherwise, we're just gonna, between Paul Avinash and myself, we're just gonna kind of hang out. Anuj, what's up?
Yeah.
Mr. Hey, Instagram.
Oh, nice. What's up, Anuj?
Yeah,
Hey, Paul.
Anuj, good morning. Have you had your morning tea? You just
So actually, it's his birthday, so I've been all night. Sort of, he's been excited since last 12. So I've just set him up with the Nintendo Switch. So he's just having fun.
Nice. Anuj, you need a shave.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Hello, friendly faces. I'm just joining for a couple of minutes. I want to make sure it's working. Is audio coming through okay?
Oh yeah, it's actually coming in
great.
really nicely, Justin.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. We just had Go Saito from Sega join. He had to pop out. He had a meeting as well.
Okay.
But just so I understand, so I guess, Joseph, tomorrow for the global panel, we'll all log in 5 minutes early, and we'll just be like tuning in here, and then you guys will make the four of us live. Is that right?
Yeah, so like I can turn people on and off. So for example, like I'll remove Paul and then add him back in. And so if you just need to show up before the time, and then I can add you into the stream or take you off the stream. So it's basically as simple as that. And and Justin, if you're busy, feel free to drop off. Otherwise, we're just gonna kind of shoot the breeze. If any audience questions come in, folks out there in YouTube land, I can see you guys are out there. If you want to post any comments or questions, we'll be happy to answer those. But otherwise, for the speakers, feel free to hang out or jump off.
Cool, Joe. Just a sort of comment. I'll email you some comments for the session tomorrow. That's pending on me, but otherwise everything's cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Great.
Cool.
Any updates on PUBG? Anything any news you wanna break right here, right now?
No.
No.
Cool.
All right, guys, I will jump off. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
I'm
All right, we're in the house with Nukebox.
So I was just going to say I was about to leave, but it's okay. I'm hanging for 2 minutes.
Same here.
No problem.
Yeah, it's okay. You don't need to waste time.
Yeah, but just wanted to check: is my voice audible?
It's very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
It's very good. You guys both sound great.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, guys. Excited for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
yeah, all the best.
Okay.
See you guys.
All right.
Later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So then it is us and our 5 viewers on YouTube.
What's up, YouTubers?
What's up, YouTube?
Are you also streaming on LinkedIn? I can see.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. All right.
There's a check mark next to LinkedIn, also to Facebook, and to the Leela Twitch channel.
Right.
So for the 5 viewers on YouTube, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in. We definitely want to try and test that as well. So we got a hey guys from Bhargav Krishna, and let me actually show that. Boom. All right, this works.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you for that comment.
So yeah, I'm kind of liking StreamYard. Just for the audience, we were actually testing a number of different streaming services, streaming software services, and we actually were going to go with Riverside.fm, but then we had so many problems with the stream quality and with just other things. But yeah, I'm glad we there was an initial recommendation for StreamYard from someone else who had done a conference, and I'm glad we kind of picked this. This definitely seems like the easiest and best software to use. But
It's working out.
All right. Yeah, LinkedIn questions for tomorrow. Sure. Hey, Brian, what's up? What's up, Brian? Yeah, if you have any questions, drop them in. We'll try and ask them tomorrow. But maybe I can ask you guys, Paul and Avinash, since we're here and since this is the India Free to Play conference that we're hosting tomorrow. So let's maybe tell some of the folks out there about why India. So I think what we've seen in terms of the industry is the rise of a few specific geographies. In particular, China has really, really been blowing up with companies like Lilith, MiHoYo, who developed Genshin Impact. You know, there are, and this isn't public information, since we only have 7 people here, that, you know, the Riot's developing like a mofo out in Shanghai, you know what I'm saying? So like you got huge teams being developed out in China, Turkey as well, like a lot of the folks that were at Peak and then kind of left to develop their own studios like Dreamhaven and things like that. And so when we look at India, maybe I can ask you guys, why are you guys in now? Avinash, being from India, is going to be a little biased, but Paul, maybe you could talk about why you and I were so excited about India, and then Avinash, from your perspective, being Indian, you know, what you think is the future opportunity for India.
Got it. Well, if you know, to just be just completely honestly, when you were like, hey, let's try to build a game, I knew that we were willing to go anywhere in the world to do it, and that was. I don't care if I ended up on a nice beach in some country with all like the best food and traffic and all the best accommodations, or if I ended up in somewhere that was completely different and radical. And so we were willing to really go anywhere. And the idea of going to India, when it came, we went to India to see what's up. And there were people within India that were in the game space that actually didn't even believe in their own space. There were people who said India is not the place. There were Indian business people that said the talent's not here. And I remember thinking, this is the place. Like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, wherever. And the people that I was meeting, I was like, these are just the same type of people I work with anywhere. I saw the talent, I saw the opportunity, and I saw a disbelief in some people's, I even saw disbelief in comments on YouTube. Why India? Stuff like that. And so I think the subtle disbeliefs that are kind of hard to maneuver, I can't really say who really said these things or how I interpreted them or in what ways people like put those into context. But in some ways, some people say, why India? Or the gaming industry is so new, or, you know, it's just like, what? Doesn't feel like the spot. And for some reason that kind of gets me excited. It's like, I'm going to show you that you guys were wrong. And, you know, you want maybe some easy route, maybe, you know, you want to be in some, I don't know what it's like in Shanghai, but it doesn't sound like some of the places that I saw in India. So there's definitely different lifestyles. So I think some people don't want to go to different areas that may seem harder to be. And they just, well, they want a lifestyle, and they want their you know, the prize. I just want the prize, you know. I just want the game. I don't care where it is. I don't care where it's at. You know, I would literally live on a dirt floor to build this product, man. You know, we're already taking the biggest salary cuts possible. You know, I would be willing to travel anywhere during COVID in the most harshest conditions. I'm ready to go. And turns out India is actually not even that bad. And so It's like, let's go, you know? So I'm just excited about doing something where most people don't think it can be done.
Right. Mm-hmm. And by the way, we will take questions. So I've got the next question posted. But before we go to Avinash, maybe I could just say a couple things as well, is that,
sure.
You know, I think people should realize that before China was China, like Paul and I were there at FunPlus, for example. And, you know, I think it really does come down to the people that create that initial company, right? Mm-hmm. And so even when we look at the mobile gaming space, when you look at the early industry, right? When you had a company like OfferPal, which became Tapjoy, the early people in that company broke off and created Stormate, and in turn created, you know, why am I blanking? Pocket Gems, and like a lot of the people split out and built a bunch of different companies, right? And so I think that it really just takes that nucleus of talent in a new geography to kind of build something, achieve success, and then take some of those capabilities and skills and share that with other companies. It happened in China, it happened in Turkey, and we believe that it's going to happen in India. And, Avinash, do you have any comments?
Right. So as you said, I'm from India, so my point of view is completely different.
Yeah.
So for me, this question is more about why India now. So India is a new. I mean, in terms of game development, still a growing industry in India. Like if I have to put a number, I would say maybe past 20 years have been the most active. Before that, it was just few people trying out few things. So if you see the kind of games are being built out of India or have been built out of India, so most of them have been, I would say, not that big or ambitious, or that's how any industry starts. So like when you start building something, you don't want to take risks. You want to start with the safe bet. Hey, can we do this? Can we do this? And then you become comfortable. And what I see now is that I see multiple companies trying something ambitious. So I would say we are not just the only one, but right now we have not seen any top grossing game out of India. Like when I say top grossing, I mean number one top grossing in the world, not only in India. And the reason for that is, one of the reasons for that is just companies not trying to do something which they have not done before, or which has never been done before in India. But now I see, like, even us, we trying to build something really ambitious which has never been done. It's a risk for us. And as you said, like, many people have questions about, hey, do you find the talent in India to build this kind of stuff? And I would say, any game which was built, you kind of train the talent to be there. And one thing I see when I interview candidates, when I talk to Indian developers, is that everybody aspires to build those kind of games. So it's just the opportunity is missing. And right now I see many developers, like, in our call, there were a few founders of the companies. They're also, building something really, really cool. So we are seeing those kind of games being built, and you see lots of other activities happening in India right now. Lots of, investment happening. So I think this is the right time, and this is the time to actually build great games out of India.
Right. Hey, Justin, how's it going?
Okay.
Nice.
Well, that's pretty
Hey,
smooth.
Justin.
Nice. You
All
came in
right.
great.
Yeah, your audio is coming in
Clear.
great.
It's good to see you guys. So, yeah, I got like 10 minutes today, so I just figured I'd do the test.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, just to be clear, Justin, if you want to just jump on, test your equipment, and jump off, no worries. If you want to hang out for a while and just kind of talk to us, we were about to talk about the question coming in. Hi, guys. What do you think about Zynga's current strategy? So, Justin, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I do. And if there's anyone in the audience from Zynga, I'll change my answer. But no one's there.
Well, I think you should go first. I definitely think you should go first. I'm based in Tokyo, and
Okay.
I've actually had only limited interaction with Zynga, so I'm not the best guy to answer that question.
Yeah. So in terms of Zynga's current strategy, so first of all, let me be clear in saying that I think Zynga is actually a really, really good company, right? They've got, very strong talent, especially oriented around live ops. And so, when it comes to live ops, they definitely have a lot of expertise, technology, capability along those lines. I think that, they've had the right strategy from an M&A and acquisitions perspective over the past, let's say 5 years, especially under, being led by Chris Petrovic at the time. But the times are changing, right? And so with the changing times, and did my video freeze? All right, let me.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, all right.
You're good.
Yeah, with the changing, the thing that's happened with Zynga now is that when you look at Zynga's growth, essentially 100% of their growth has come from M&A. And so given that the paradigm is shifting now, where the easy pickings in M&A is no longer there, they are changing their strategy. Now, the thing that I don't like about Zynga's strategy is that, to me, it's not clear that they've kind of figured it out. Like, they rode this wave of M&A for a long time, and now it seems like they're orienting around an AppLovin strategy, which is basically the idea that what people call the Netflix of gaming is a little bit of a bad label, in the sense that what what AppLovin means when they talk about the Netflix of gaming is basically to own the audience and to create a walled garden of content and audience, right? And so basically by having a big portfolio of games and then owning the advertising layer, and then using the advertising layer as your recommendation engine, that's what they mean by the Netflix of gaming. And so Zynga seems to be going towards this strategy, but at the same time, they're kind of in and they're kind of out. On the one hand, they're saying that they're going to develop their external, ads revenue business, but at the same time, work on this advertising layer. AppLovin is very clear in terms of really orienting around this Netflix of gaming vision, whereas Zynga is kind of doing it, kind of not. They say a lot of confusing things about their approach on, IDFA deprecation, what they're trying to do with Rollic and IDFV. So I think right now, my honest thoughts to you about Zynga and their current strategy is it's a little bit of a lack of strategy, right? They're kind of looking at what AppLovin's doing. They're kind of making some moves, but to me, it's not like a cohesive or fully baked strategy. And the one other thing that they're trying to do in terms of growth is, not only the vertical integration in terms of, owning the ad network, but then also thinking right now, where is Zynga? Zynga's trying to find growth. So either vertical integration with ads and maybe Netflix of gaming, maybe not. But the other area that they're looking at is then cross-platform, right? And so now they've got efforts, and you're seeing acquisition of Vectra, the Torchlight developer guys based in San Francisco. You're also seeing things like more announcements around cross-platform, and so the new Star Wars game, which sounds like it's probably going to be like a brawler, is probably going to be on Switch as well as mobile, and I think you're going to start to see more and more announcements around cross platforms. And I think that part makes sense. And, there is like a broader market outside of mobile, and increasingly the model of free to play exports cross platform, right? And so Zynga is well positioned to take live operations against free to play to PC, to console. So I think that part makes sense, but then does that mean that they're going to be growing as much as they did before? That part is not clear. But, on that second part of the strategy, they certainly have the leadership and the DNA for it, because essentially much of their leadership came from EA. Justin, I don't know if you have any thoughts on on what I just discussed, or have you thoughts on something?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think Zynga is particularly unique in what they're wrestling with. I think a lot of us are, as the market is shifting, and there's a lot of companies with the wherewithal from a capital and talent perspective trying to make pivots on such things as cross-platform and new territory expansion, including India, of course. And
right.
No single organization is truly a global gaming company at this point, arguably. I think we're all the top tier and maybe the next tier below are all have areas of particular expertise, but this industry tends to stay a step or two ahead of the gaming companies in terms of the things that are possible, right? So cross-platform, you're going to start seeing a lot more investment in metaverses, and even things like NFT are recently getting a lot of headlines, and companies are trying to figure out between their M&A strategy and their organic growth strategy, like which particular disciplines to hone in on to ride the next wave of growth. And so you're going to see companies like Zynga and like a lot of other gaming companies, including mine, is trying to figure out which areas to hone in on and build that competitive advantage as the new growth areas become more and more obvious.
Right.
So I, like a lot of people, I respect Zynga a great deal. I think they've done a tremendous job, and I think the issues they're wrestling with are very familiar to me and probably all of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Lahong, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but the one other thing that I think you should think about is like when you think about like different, I think it's kind of instructive to think about companies and growth from different perspectives, right? And so I think what Justin said is absolutely right. I think, you know, when companies think about growth, they think about areas, right? And so whether it's, you know, vertical integration, whether it's, you know, geo or console or cross-platform, and I think Justin is absolutely right. The next wave is that a lot of people are talking about crypto and NFTs, and we're going to see, there's a bunch of stuff unannounced and a lot of rumors, but you're going to see some of the major companies out there, you know, the bigger companies with the games and IP that you probably think makes sense to have NFTs. They're going to be announcing stuff in the next year or two. So you'll start to see that. But then also think about other perspectives. So for those of you in the audience who have seen or who read the Game Makers newsletter, I also recommend that you read the latest one on structural advantage. And then I have like kind of highlighted some of the ways in which you can think about competitive advantage, because I think that's what we're going to start to see, that we're seeing a lot of structural shifts, right? And I think a big one too is just like the recent news about Korea and how they are going to allow different alternative payment systems on the app stores. And so, you know, we're you know, there's obviously been movement around that in Europe, and there's the new legislation in the US. And so that has the ability to potentially, you know, disrupt markets in specific ways and create new opportunities for somebody. I mean, right now it looks like, you know, the big winners are probably likely going to be companies like Unity, Xsola, and other companies like that. But I'm sure it's going to open up the space for new players.
Well, one thing I'll say is both, you know, India specific and Asia more broadly is some of the movement that's happening in the West, cross-platform, alternative payment solutions, are already common in this part of the world. So it's interesting. A lot of the Western companies that are wrestling with this, and obviously being the headquarters for Apple and Google and a lot of the industry leadership in the US, that it's a more sensitive topic over there. But like Southeast Asia, alternative payment has been the norm for like forever. So it's not taboo down there, right? It's just standard operating procedure, even on mobile. And you know, cross-platform in Northern Asia, Korea, China, that's where it really was born out of, and where it's still executed the best.
Right.
So some of the key topics right now are Asia's well positioned. I think India, if you look at it, less mature as a development community, but on wrestling with things like how to allow for payment on all the different channels, how to get mass consumer adoption when you're talking about all different devices and different levels of connectivity. You know, Indian developers and publishers are used to wrestling with that. So again, well positioned, I would argue, for the next phase of growth in the industry, this part of the world.
Hey, Saloni, how's it going?
Hey guys. Hi, Justin. How are you?
Doing very well. Great to see you.
I'm very nice to see you. And hi guys. I was just dropping in for the tech check. I believe everything's okay. We're good to go.
Everything's good.
Coming in.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Okay. Feel free to hang out. We're just kind of shooting the breeze, or you can drop off because sounds like your tech's doing great.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. I have a meeting starting in 2 minutes, so I will tune in then tomorrow and look forward to seeing all the panels. I'll see you guys.
All right. See ya.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
And for our audience, that was Saloni from Lumikai. They're investing in the next generation of entrepreneurs here in India. So definitely check out her panel tomorrow.
I'm going to drop off as well. Okay. I've got to make a presentation in about a minute and a half. So, but I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right. Sounds good. Bye, Justin.
Bye.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
All right. And the next question. I think I'll let you address this one.
All right. So, hey, Sonu. So this is a good question, basically. But just to answer, the most important part about this question is it goes hands on hand. So, you should never stop learning. You should never stop upgrading your skills, because and this is a very big mistake I have seen, not only in gaming industry but in other industries also. Like when you are just finishing your college or just finishing your education, only focus is to get job. But then once you get the job, you just do the work which is needed there, but you never focus on, becoming better. And that's the same mistake people do in gaming industry as well. And I'm telling you from my experience of interviewing so many developers. So what you should do is, first of all, you have to have enough skills to get a job. And then once you get that job, you have to make sure that you are able to make significant contributions to the game you are going to work on, and never stop learning, because that will help your organization which you are going to join, and this will help you as well to grow as a professional developer. So do you guys also have any thoughts, JK, Paul?
I would say that most of the engineers that I've met throughout my career, some of the best ones make up for some of the best ones that don't have a lot of skill make up for it in a lot of heart. In working on top grossing games, there were plenty of engineers who seemed really smart, super sharp. Maybe they were like clean cut girl, or like a buff Asian dude who stopped eating dinner at 8 p.m., ate his chicken, worked out really strong, graduated top of the class. But they are gone by like 8:30 for sure. And then there were people who would be there trying to make it work, even if they weren't the most talented. And they ended up to surpass some of the promising, at least initial hires who came through the door with big expectations, bright ideas, and all these things. And so I saw people who had broken English and were from different countries, who were just so grateful to have the job. And from an engineering standpoint, even though I've never been an engineer, I can tell you that I have seen people with great attitudes rise far above people who have 10 years experience, stuff like that. So where you lack an experience, attitude will always help.
Yeah. And I think in addition to like the dedication and commitment to the craft, trying to get your 10,000 hours in to become great at something, one of the things that we have been talking about, it's not just putting in the time and the commitment and the dedications, it's also how you spend that time. And so in my experience, the best developers and engineers are not the ones who just kind of hack stuff together and just like, oh, I want to finish this thing, let me just kind of figure it out. Oh, it works, great. No. I would recommend you really try to understand the why, the fundamentals of, the coding standards. When you use different kinds of, data structures or the way in which you code, really try to fundamentally understand best practice and do things the right way. And so it really is about going slow before you go fast, right? And so as somebody who's new, three recommendations for me is, one, really dedicate and put in that effort, as Paul said. But then secondly, learn it the right way. Learn the fundamentals. If you spend, a bunch of time doing things in a crap way just to get shit done, that's not gonna advance you beyond the other developers out there. And then finally is really around trying to create a brand for yourself. If you're new, create a blog post, create a YouTube channel that shows your projects, whether it's in Unity or Unreal or whatever.
Good point, JK. And I think second point is the most important one, where I see developers not trying to understand how things work. They just get it done. So,
right.
Yep.
Right. All right. Next question. Is your bet on being able to make games in India or even make for India? So we're actually focusing on the global market, but that's not to say that we're not excited about India. I think India is surprisingly a pretty big market, despite the lack of, some people say there's, a lack of monetization, but even, when PUBG before the relaunch was in India, it was doing something like 8 million net a month, which is, not bad. And what we're seeing is that with things like geo and like, unlimited data and things like that, the market is just becoming more and more and more attractive. But for us in particular, we are going for a global audience, but that's not to say that if the right opportunity comes for a game, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5, if it makes sense. I mean, we'd love to be able to play to our strengths. So if there's a specific game, we want to make Ludo Black or something like that, maybe we'll do that.
I have a different take on this.
Okay.
So I feel most of the Indian gaming audience is global. So I don't think Indian gamers would play a game because it is built in India. Because now their quality standard is already set. They will play a game if it is a good game, if the quality is good. If you make a battle royale, for example, and it's worse than PUBG or Free Fire, they are not going to play because that game is built out of India. They will play the better quality game. So just a thought, even if we are building it for international audience, actually we are building for Indian audience also.
Right. So next question: what sort of differences or sensibilities have you seen between game devs in India versus the US? I have some thoughts, but do you guys want to start, or should I go?
Go on, JK.
Okay, this is gonna sound like a knock, okay, but I will say this. So I think that if you look at the Indian gaming market, it's characterized by a certain kind of gaming studio. Okay, it's a gaming studio that's because the Indian free-to-play gaming market is still emerging, right? And so what we've seen players that are still learning, which means that they're launching like games that they can build quickly, but with more of a portfolio-based strategy, right? So you have some Indian gaming studios making 5 games, 10 games. There was somebody from a studio that was working on 20 games, right? And the teams were not that big, right? And so you've got companies that are working on, basically game production life cycles of, let's say, 3 to 6 months against multiple titles, right? And so the difference in sensibility then is one of depth, right? And then of what I would say is first principles types of thinking. So what I think is coming, right? And so it's not there yet in India, but whether it's, development, whether it's PMs, whether it's, data infrastructure, what isn't there yet is the depth or the kind of the real fundamental understanding of why. And so a lot of whether it's a PM or producer may know why, may know about a process, but they don't know why they're doing that way. And if you don't know why you're doing things a certain way, then you can't ask the question, how can I make it better? Right. And so that's one of the things when for anyone in the audience who's potentially, interviewed with us, that's what we really, really look for is, do you understand something, or are you going to ask questions at a very fundamental level? Because if you don't understand those fundamentals, you can't improve them. And I would highly recommend, Paul's going to be giving a talk tomorrow, but one thing that you'll always see from Paul is he really tries to break down things at a very fundamental basis. And the depth of his research is really, really extensive. And so for me, that's like the main difference. And then Avinash and Paul, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts as well.
I would say that on the positive side of things that I've seen in India is that some of the engineers were just super excited to work on something unique and different, as opposed to some of the engineers in San Francisco. They're really excited to go do yoga and get out of the office. There's people who are getting paid an extreme amount in the Bay Area. They're getting paid like salaries I've never even been able to even get close to by, $100,000 a year, right? And they are so far gone. And they have some companies serve lunch, and some companies have massages. They have massages. Some companies have kombucha on tap. Full refrigerators full of drinks and snacks. Everything, man. Everything. Huge parking lots, vacations, and somewhere along the line, I think that things kind of got less exciting for some, and maybe they feel like they can relax a little bit until something happens with the company, and then they can find their little exit in their career or something like that. Or maybe they're a distinguished engineer who's launched a lot of titles, so now they're focusing on having kids or something like that. But when I was in India, I can say that there was an excitement that I remember that existed in engineers that I felt was more common in like 2013, 2014. when we'd come into the office and we would have the biggest perk we would have is like we got a discount at a gym. That was the company perk, and no one would even accept it, and people would work pretty hard. So I felt sometimes when I was in India, just for the brief time that I was there, I felt a little bit of that. Some from the art team, some from the engineers. But I would say that the India teams do feel early startup, and some of the teams that I felt in the States, like in San Francisco, felt really bougie, fruit water, 15-story building, view of the ocean. And everyone's like, wow, it's such a tough day. It's like, no, this is not a tough day. This is actually pretty easy, So I think there is potential for a lot of the Indian developers to have an edge that some of the world may be losing.
Okay. We have a comment from. Oh, go ahead.
I just have one thought, not for the developers, but for the leadership of gaming companies in India. And that is most of the leadership, they don't understand the complexity of building a great game. So that's why you will see people set out to build good games, but at the end, the result is not that good. And that's the lack of experience or lack of or whatever it is. They will always try to plan things in a very shortest way possible. And that's not how you build great games. So, there is a level of depth, level of effort needed to build those kind of games. So.
Okay. Then we had a comment that came in from Rias KA. One reason why India, I feel, is young generation is more here. Other reason is telecom industry is booming in India right now. So in coming years, people in rural areas will be playing more games. 100% agree with that. One of the challenges, though, with the rural areas is we know from experience trying to talk to people in some of the rural areas that the internet isn't so great. So it's just like trying to have a Zoom call. It's like very, very tough. But otherwise, yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment in terms of having a lot of the rural areas light up, play more games, potentially be able to become customers of new games in the future. And then Lahong Hai again, another comment. They bought a golf game in China. And I guess by they, you mean Zynga. Golf Rivals is probably what you're talking about. And I don't know if that helps them tap to the market there or not. Hopefully they can execute their new Farmville or Star Wars games. Thanks for perspective, guys. Yeah, no problem on the perspectives. Yeah, I think that, right now, everything's just getting acquired, right? That we're kind of running towards the end of the kind of that wave of M&A, and I mean there's still M&A happening now, but it's just getting more and more difficult to find targets that are easy pickups. All the easy ones have been taken. I mean, I don't have any specific perspectives in terms of whether that particular acquisition was good or bad, but I would say that most acquisitions in the current environment are fully priced. Right, and you're fully pricing with a little bit of additional risk, generally speaking. Okay, next question from Wings of Fire. All right, and I like your icon, Wings of Fire. Our game project is actually called Black, but hello, JK. Why limit Leela to mobile games? Why not PS or Xbox platforms? We are doing that. We are at. Am I not supposed to announce this?
We would like to. Our product makes sense. Some of our products make sense.
Yeah, we're announcing PC for now, and then the other platforms. Yeah, well, forget what I just said, but they'll come over time. And let's see. Indian work culture and salaries are so bad. Any thoughts on why and how we can change that? Shravan, could you expand a little bit? What do you mean by work culture and salaries are so bad? I mean, I think from our perspective, I would say that so there's a couple of ways that I personally think about this. I think that the compensation strategy is strange. Right. And so we're kind of trying to adapt to the compensation strategy in India. But generally, like what we're saying is that the compensation strategy and salaries, to your point, is really based upon, how much you jump around. Like if you jump around, then you get like plus whatever X% to your last CTC. And so if you just keep jumping, you're going to have a pretty high salary but at the end of it. I do think that I would expect that at least on the salary side, that with globalization and things of that nature, that kind of fixes itself. And with companies like ours that come into India, where we will be offering fairly competitive salaries as well as equity. So I think that should help the situation. And then I think in terms of the work culture, so I mean, I have a little bit of different perspective on work culture, right?
He did post another one.
Okay.
Below it. He elaborated a little bit for you when you get to the culture. There you go.
The crunch culture. It's much worse over here, I feel, when it comes to work culture. That's not what I've seen. Can you talk to guys at Leela? Just kidding.
So yeah, actually, I hear about this. Now, I would say that one of the most painful things about some of the crunches that I've had in my career are on products just straight up suck, and also visions that you're not a part of. And so at least at Leela, one of the things that we're trying to do is bring sort of a Silicon Valley approach to our company, where we want people to be owners of the product. And we do want to work like a winning team. And I know for a fact that creating an MVP of a product is basically creating almost everything. I mean, from the game has been down for maintenance screen, to the player profile screen, to the settings screen, to the push notifications, to the chat. There's just so much to get done in order to be competitive from the start. So for the most part, I think making a game from scratch requires a ton of work. Maybe not later for a real seasoned company like experienced Supercell or a big Zynga company. Maybe you can relax then. But in the beginning of a project where people have dedication and feel like they're a part of it, I mean, what band member of a band who makes music would want to let the band down, whether you're a drummer or the bassist or the guitarist and stuff like that? But you're a part of the show, so you feel it. So I think one of the things where my heart breaks in India is that I can tell that a lot of people don't want to take equity, or they're offered it, or they don't know about it, and they're just getting paid whatever they felt they deserved, and working on projects that kind of suck. And I think that's where it starts to hurt, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Trevor, I think just to add a little bit of nuance to one of the points that Paul was mentioning, is that there's a little bit of a difference in terms of crunch versus not crunch, or I would say work intensity, depending on where you are in the life cycle of your company. If you're working on new game development 0 to 1, and the life of your company depends upon success, you should expect crunch. And at Supercell, originally they did crunch. They probably don't crunch now, but when they were trying to get success and the fate of the company depended upon it, of course they were crunching. At Zynga and Live Ops, when you've got stable revenues, are they crunching? I don't know many people, many of my friends at Zynga who are crunching. Okay, that's just the nature of having a live operated business with predictable, stable revenues in a very predictable business. But when you're working on 0 to 1 instead of 1 to N, in this phase, you should expect a greater amount of work. The other thought that I wanted to just talk to you about is, I think that you should also, the thing that I think is a mistake is for companies not to be clear or transparent about what their work culture is like, right? And so for us, I personally don't believe in work-life balance. I just don't believe in it. That's a personal choice, right? And the analogy, a lot of people have heard me say this a million times who are at Leela or who have interviewed at Leela, is I kind of liken this choice to kind of like flavors of ice cream. There's vanilla ice cream, which is kind of like work-life balance. I have a lot of respect for work-life balance. I have a lot of respect for people who choose work-life balance. That's a choice, right? And so I think it's more about you personally. What kind of lifestyle do you want? Do you want a company that's on a mission to do something very ambitious, in which you might have to crunch or work a lot? But then the only thing that I have to say is that if a company is going to look for people that are quote unquote crunching, that they should share the rewards, and they should make it clear what their work culture and company is like. would be my thoughts on that. Avinash, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, one mistake I can talk about from company's point of view is that whenever they imagine productivity, they imagine productivity from point of view of number of hours somebody puts in the work. But I think that's if you just do that, that's a mistake. What you have to do, you have to have goals and timelines at the same time. So set ambitious goals, and if the developer can be like really efficient, whatever, like if he can do that work in 10 hours a day or 12 hours a day, then he doesn't have to put 15 hours a day. So and I'll tell you, like, game development is not easy. It takes lots of effort. So at the end, you will have to work hard if you're working on something ambitious. But from planning point of view, these things can be also addressed. Plan it better. Not only see like, hey, 15 hours a day, but you have to have ambitious goals as well, so that the person who is working on there, he also feels like, yeah, I'm working on something. And that's I think the last question which Shravan also said, that there is no appreciation for the work also. So that's the mistake. Like, there should be visibility in terms of what you are doing, and there should be performance plan, whatever the companies do.
Yeah, no, and I have seen, like, there are companies that ask employees to crunch and do it in a bad way. And again, I absolutely feel bad about those situations, and I think that's not right. But I do think if a company is transparent about what their culture is like, if they have a specific mission, and I would probably disagree with Avinash a little bit in the sense that I actually think, like, one of the things that somebody I talked to today who interviewed with me today was like, in terms of work ethic, what I told him is like, even if you don't have work, I want you to be working not on the company, not on a product, but on yourself. Improve your skills, right? Like spend that time building up your own skills, because what I want our guys to be, I want everyone at Leela to be striving to become the best at their craft, right? So I'm looking for master craftsmen. And a master craftsman is someone who works on their craft, even if they're not working at the company. And if they're at home working on themselves, learning, then, that's fine with me, because that will eventually lead to, benefits for the company later on as well. All right, let's see. I am an Indian indie dev creating an indie game. It's really going good with development. I'm planning a release for PC, Mac, and maybe Android. All right, Strix. Awesome. Let us know, whenever you're ready. If we can help you promote it, please let us know. We'd be happy to, talk about it if it's good. If it's not good, I'll pretend I didn't see your email. All right, let's see. Right, and then Shravan also mentioned that he'd like some appreciation. Give this man some appreciation for working those 15-hour days, guys. Come on. Rias. Basically, a company should appreciate their each members and motivate them. At the end, it's all about teamwork. Absolutely agree that teamwork is critical for us. We believe in, teamwork over individualism, but also, another concept we have is really that the teamwork works by also having direct feedback and communication with one another. Direct feedback with respect, anyway. Let's see. What do you guys think when some company 3 months of notice period in their contract? How can the developer find good opportunity? Well, we think it sucks, right? Like the 2-3 month notice period thing. We think that's terrible. We personally don't do it. So we did have one person leave Leela about a month ago, and we basically told them, fuck the notice period. If you want to go, go. And we wish you the best. So we think it's a stupid policy. And we personally, like, if you joined Leela and you wanted to leave, we will not enforce, some kind of ridiculous, like, so long as, we're leaving on good terms and things are, you didn't steal any IP or anything, you could just be gone. All right. Thank you, Shravan. I appreciate that. See, Sonu. What do you think about games like Echo? It's a game that was published by Strange Loop Games. I
thought it was cool. I thought it was interesting.
Okay.
Did you guys see it?
I haven't.
could speak upon it a little bit. I don't think there was something that, you know, I don't know how to talk about a game that I haven't played extensively, but I would say that it was a really tasteful game. Okay. And it's basically sort of like a very organized Minecraft where you can play it with others. There's a lot of cooperation, independent base building, and even mayors, I think to some degree, mayors and ownership of certain areas, trades and things like this, worlds that are so beautiful that it's hard for the game to load. Proximity chat, so when someone walks by, you can kind of hear them talk, you can ask them a question, and people building out these things. Some really interesting views of like the globe spinning around. Like if you see that it's the image that's this on the right, the second row.
This one?
Up one?
This one?
Yeah. It has a globe view. And that globe view is really interesting. This looks mirrored, but basically you can see, I thought the globe was just super awesome. And it's like this miniature kind of big chunky world. I don't see much of it anymore. You know, I saw it blow up on Steam, but I'd be proud of that game, and I'd work on that game. And I don't know what the numbers are like and what's going on, but there's certainly an emerging need for stuff like this. You see a tremendous amount of people playing Grand Theft Auto 5, and they're not really playing Grand Theft Auto 5. They're playing role playing, no pixel, role playing out on these big worlds. And they have apartments, they have cars, and this game kind of does that. And I'm not sure if it's as successful as it deserves to be. And I'm actually not quite sure how to say what makes a game like this fail or succeed. But I can say that huge open world, have a role, run around and do stuff, have a job, build stuff, and be somebody with customization is just, it's exploding. And the people who have the ability to do this really can't control it. Like the Grand Theft Auto game, it uses all that IP, and I don't even know how legal it is. I mean, there's Nike shoes and Jordan shirts and real cars, and it's using Grand Theft Auto's game, and they're plugging into servers, and it's this real big hacky thing. So to make your own IP that is doing its own thing, I think it's really special. And I'd love to play more of that game. It's pretty high tech, JK. You can build stuff and have electricity and water. Like I said, it's like a really well done, mature Minecraft role playing world building experience. It's pretty dope.
Okay. And we have one, we'll probably take this one last question. Did you ever feel we have a creative saturation in the market, considering FPS, right? From Doom 93 to PUBG. So I can take a crack at it. So I actually think that there's always room for innovation. And I think if we're successful, I think some of the design concepts that Paul has is going to blow your minds, guys. You guys are going to be like, what? Or maybe you guys will say, what the fuck are these guys doing? But yeah, it'll be different. It will be different. So, but creatively, yes. I mean, we've seen, a lot of permutations of team deathmatch. We've seen a lot of, various flavors of battle royale. Do we need another battle royale? I think there probably is room for a few more, but I mean, we are kind of, to your point on creative saturation, you could make the argument that unless you do something, what I would like to see is more innovation around how can you make this better? And again, just to kind of pimp the Game Makers newsletter again, if you go to gamemakers.substack.com, there is a post on designing with emotion. And so that's one of the things that, I mean, I can trace back, this game and how Paul thinks about design back to a conversation we were having when we were at Fun Plus working on King of Avalon. And, the question that Paul had, talked about with respect to games is how can you make somebody famous, right? And so not to give away too much about our game, but that's one of the key things that we think about in terms of user needs, in terms of emotion, in terms of human desires, that we believe that the manifestation of some of these needs, emotions, things like that get manifested within games. So, so that would be the way that I would address the creative saturation point, is to think about not only like what are the little different features and things that we could do, but then taking it back to the player, to the user. What different kind of emotion or user need can the player connect to if we're designing a new kind of game? Any thoughts, guys?
No, I think match 3 is pretty saturated, but then that match royale game launched out of nowhere. And it's doing well. People are enjoying it. So I don't know. I don't know if the question is like, I think from a creative standpoint, like, do you say, well, from a business standpoint, maybe you say, you know what, let's go. I want to take on match 3. And then maybe from a creative standpoint, you go, you know what, I'm tired of match 3, man. There's too many different which ways it's already been done, And so if that's where you are with shooters, where you're like, man, here we go. They got the sniper class, and then the defense class, and then the pub, the team deathmatch, and then it's all the same, If that's where you're at, then that's where you're at. But I do agree with Joseph that it's possible to make a product that's seemingly impossible. Like match 3, for example, that recent game,
Royal Match by Dream Games.
Yeah,
excellent game, guys. Super
excellent
execution.
Game. Yeah, and who would I bet you I would imagine the CEO of King, like, right? You get everyone, you pay all the highest paid guys in the room, and you would say, guys, what's going on? I give you everything. You got all the data. We talked to everyone. We went to parties. We know everyone's ARPUs, KPIs. We got all the data in the world. And now what's this Match Royale crap? Or crap, what is this? And they'd be Royal Match. They'd be like, oh, well, and I'd be like, la, 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 la. Yeah. Oh, you guys want Christmas bonus too, huh? You guys want Diwali bonus and all this stuff. It's like crazy. So how did someone come up with that amongst the powerful match 3 gods? How did they do that? They believed in something that was wasn't right in the zone. Wasn't too saturated. They just got right in there. All right,
guys. I think we're a few minutes over time.
Folks,
thanks for jumping on with us. We're going to have the actual conference tomorrow. So
I really appreciate the audience. Thank you guys for coming. It was fun. It was really cool.
Yeah, this was really good. And thanks for the questions.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Thanks, guys. Make sure to come tomorrow.
Yeah,
Bye.
Connect on LinkedIn. See you guys later.